10 seconds remaining.
And welcome in for our last series of the evening. Vici Gaming taking on Team DK. DK fought back in our first Eastern series of the night, managing to get 2 in a row over Tong Fu after dropping game 1 and fight their way here on our second round. Vici Gaming finished up in 3rd seed overall in our group stage and now fighting for their chance to play off with Invictus in the best of 5 coming up tomorrow. Now, DK leading off with the clockwork in the Rubik. Vici Gaming going to show us an early bristleback pick to go with the early Visage and to break down the draft and lend his insight and analysis as always. Welcome in once again for the last time this evening, Ben Merlini Wu. And Ben, I'll tell you what, DK, they looked ugly, flat out ugly in game 1 against Tong Fu, but the other 2 games they took in pretty dominant fashion. So they're going to be rolling into this series with a bit of momentum, and they're going to need it as Vici actually got the best of Team DK in their meeting in our group stage.
Yeah, I think they've been playing with a lot of ping issues in the past few days. Mushi and ISSS weren't actually in China, so they were kind of relegated to outfarm the other team with macro decisions as opposed to small skirmishes early where they can outplay the other team. And I think they were still somewhat stuck in that mindset and just power farming their way through the game. And then game 2 and game 3, they're like, whoa, hey, wait, we can actually take a lead early game. And they did exactly that and definitely outplayed Tong Fu. Tong Fu, I definitely underestimated them going into this matchup, and I thought that they were just going to get crushed 2-0 in like a 1 hour combined 2 games. But with the rotations with their role rotation, they are looking much stronger than before.
Absolutely, and both of us are rather impressed with that. ZSMJ, I mean, a little iffy on the Windrunner, and we obviously saw that not work out so well, running her as a pure 1 and the late transition, bringing the Alchemist into the farming role later. But for the most part, I mean, the SMJ, again, a guy who earned his stripes as a carry player and likely to fit in much better into that composition, or into that lineup, I should say, running back at the 1 position. So both teams taking their time with the bans so far. The bristleback pick, we actually saw that in action once already today, run by Na'Vi. Problem with the bristleback is he only gives you damage in one kind of way, and you really need to build some damage and survivability around him. He's a hero who is naturally survivable. You want to keep these fights extended out as long as possible, and there's a variety of ways to do that, but just getting a couple of bruisers that make it tough for the enemy team to really focus fire that bristleback down, that's often just about enough.
Reserve time.
I don't think he's that good of like a really early pick. I think he's a good later pick, depending. He's also decently good versus Visage. We saw Na'Vi try and run him, but they didn't have the best lineup to back him up. They didn't have any minus armor to synergize with him, which is what someone like Shadow Priest or something is really good for, or even just medallions. But yeah, it just didn't seem to work out too well for them. But if you can build a lineup around it and even just support him with a bunch of heals, whether it be Necrolite or Abaddon or anything like that, even Omni Knight I'd say would be pretty good, then he can just be a complete beast. Seems like a lot of teams just run him and just throw him into any lineup, and I don't really think that's where he particularly shines.
Yeah, very much agree. And we did see Na'Vi have some success with him, and a lot of it came down to, as mentioned, extending those fights. They had Puppy on Chen, and you trade away that survivability I was talking about. You trade away a lot of that damage potential outside of maybe a little bit of burst from a Test of Faith, but you add in an early mechanism. Well, in that game it didn't come all that early, but it was still there, as well as Hand of God, and you can extend those fights. You can buy time for Bristleback to really do what he's supposed to do, which is just be an absolute terror running around a small little area and belting out the damage. DK is going to have a little bit of a squishy carry in the Luna there as well. Very BKB reliant, and that's a situation that's good for a Bristleback in most cases. They're going to go ahead and grab the Crystal Maiden to go with him. So, again, the issue is the Crystal Maiden, the Visage. Visage not as tanky as he once was. Crystal Maiden certainly not tanky at all. These are heroes who, unless they get the absolute jump on DK, are not going to be able to stand in a fight. Really would like to see a bit more beef coming out of Vici's last 2 picks.
Yeah, there's a lot of damage flying around. I don't actually know if Eclipse gets blocked by Bristleback. There are some strange spells that it works for, it doesn't, so I'll have to check that out during the game. But still unsure how that's going to work out for them. Vici does have a pretty good front line, though. They do have a lot of burst and a lot of sustainability with the Visage and Bristleback. I've just seen Visage just do a lot of work in these past couple of days.
Well, Visage is just one of those heroes who, by the nature of how he works, he has the long-range nuke, spammable, almost always off cooldown, and soul assumption. And what tends to happen is good Visage players and teams that know that they have good Visage players just say, you know what, take every kill you can. You know, he's naturally going to be able to get some kills that other heroes might not be able to because of the mass range on soul assumption. But a lot of the times, a Visage just waits to get that last hit because of how unbelievably valuable he is if he gets off to a good start. If his scepter comes out extraordinarily early, he's also a good candidate to carry a mechanism, a good candidate to build a medallion to make Roshans easier. And think about Waytu, all the success we saw him have from Team Liquid on Visage. And we see it on most of the top-tier teams. They usually have one player who can just play an excellent Visage, and that's exactly why. And it still surprises me, honestly, that he makes it into the pool as often as he does. The hero has just been absolutely a terror since the introduction of 6.79. DK will go ahead and grab up the Old Dirty, the Outworld Devourer, for their 4th pickup, and they're beginning to build a bit of AoE early.
Yeah, getting an OD 4th pick is just huge for DK. I'm surprised that Vici didn't ban it out because Mushi just loves playing that hero over and over and over again.
Lone Druid, the next pickup from Vici, and that's going to give them that beef we were talking about, the ability to slowly push into towers. And it's going to be tough for them to engage into.
10 seconds remaining.
Let me put it this way. Talking to Puppy, last time I saw him at the International, was talking about Lone Druid, and this actually goes back even further than that, but it's something I've talked about with him at length, is, you know, the way you look at a Lone Druid isn't necessarily what he can always do or the bear can always do. It's the fact that to get to the Druid, to get to the rest of the team behind him, anytime they're trying to push and he has a moderate amount of farm, you have to engage through the bear. You have to find a way past that bear without him doing considerable work on a number of heroes. Yes, you can have blink heroes and all that, but still, there's going to have to be heroes that absolutely have to try to run past it, and usually are going to be susceptible to being picked off and rooted, especially if the bear is well fed. Now imagine trying to do that as well as a bristleback, trying to get past a well-fed spirit bear and a bristleback to get to the meat and potatoes of a Visage who can just stand back and nuke, and especially if they add in maybe a little bit more range with this last pick. This has the makings of a very nasty kind of a lineup from Vici.
Yes, it does. And a Lone Druid with that push potential, DK doesn't actually have that great anti-push either. So
Yeah.
I think that they kind of need that as one of their support picks, but I'm not exactly sure which one would do the best. We've seen Shaker do pretty well. They have the Clockwork on that team, so that is something that is an option for them. They do need some sort of counter initiative. I don't think Clockwork is going to be enough because the threat of the Lone Druid just rooting someone or Bristleback just running in and spamming his cool sprays is a little bit too much for them to handle.
One would imagine they're looking for a mid here, unless they're going to show us something unorthodox, though they do have the option if they really want to of sending the Lone Druid mid. You see the OD picked up from DK, and usually it's pretty safe to assume that OD is going to go mid. I mean, that's just how that works. But Lone Druid actually stacks up quite well against OD and does force a team like DK to try and rotate to gank him, just because he's not going to be all that affected by Astral Imprisonment. And now with the Lich pickup, they're going to have the Rubik and the Clock, and Clock eventually will become a terror. But Lich isn't necessarily the best rotational kind of a support hero. He's very much a guy who likes to sit in lane and get you an advantage by sacrificing creeps and so on and so forth. So Vici sending Lone Druid mid might be a pretty viable option here if they want to just go ahead and focus on making sure a hero isn't going to be completely shut down by OD. We'll find out one way or the other, as they only have a few seconds now to show us his 5th pick.
Reserve time.
You Lich last pick, but again, Chain Frost not really going to stick this game. And wow, a Venomancer last pick too. So I mean, that's some value picks here. And I think in the Western scene, those two heroes are rated pretty high. Maybe Venomancer way more than Lich, but still, Venomancer last pick is pretty extraordinary. They have so many slows too. They have Crystal Maiden slow, Bristleback slow, Visage slow, as well as Venom slow, and they're just going to be moving really slowly. It's gonna be pretty difficult for DK to deal with, and a lot of them will, like, even if they get BKBs, DK are still gonna be in the back foot when it comes to team fight. So I think they're gonna need an early lead and to dominate their lanes pretty hard. OD's gonna need to have to win his lane. Luna is gonna need to get farm. Burning does like his Midas, but I'm not sure if it's the right build this game, just because I think Vici has a really strong mid game lineup.
Oh, definitely. And I'm really anxious to see how they're going to end up running this. They do have Super on the Venomancer, and we have seen Venomancer taken mid a couple of times. Sylar on the Lone Druid does, just because he's standard, usually a side lane farmer, doesn't mean he can't go mid. But we'll find out one way or the other. Welcome in Game 1 just about to get underway of our final best of 3 of the day. Winner of this match advances into our best of 5 finals here in the playoffs to take on Invictus Gaming for a chance to punch their ticket to Las Vegas coming up in January. That'll be January 7th through 10th. And we'll be launching a new website coming up in just about a week or so, if even that. They'll have all the details for that and a nice little coverage hub for you, as well as information about the ticket bundle that is still on the way. And got some details about that I can't share right now, but let me tell you, I think you guys are going to be excited. I thought it was pretty cool because it's not what we originally planned to do. We wanted to do something a little extra to make up for some of the lost time and how long it's taken. And it really has worked out pretty damn well. DK and VG taking a look at each other. It doesn't look like we're going to see any blood on the soil, though, so we'll take a quick run through the lineups on the side of VG. Going to be ROTK playing on our Bristleback. The Venomancer going to be handled by Super. He's slithering his way back towards that middle lane. Going to be Fenrir handling the Crystal Maiden with Visage, played by FY, and the Lone Druid, farmed by Sylar. On the other side of the river, going to be Mushi setting up shop here in mid. No surprise there. Lanham will be playing on our Lich with the Clockwork, handled by Ice 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 once again. Burning will be farming up our Luna, and the Rubik going to be played by MMY, who has been an absolute beast already tonight. And is always such a huge part of any success DK happens to have.
Yeah, and how do you like these lineups, and how do you think these two teams match up usually?
Well, I mean, we saw early on in the group stages, Vici versus DK. Vici did get the best of them in that. Talking about the lineups, I mean, sending Super's Venomancer here against mid, I mean, I'm not a big fan of this, to be completely honest. We saw this a couple of times in Eastern play, and even in the best case, it's still a very situational advantage you can hope to get in the best of situations. MMY, going to take a look at ROTK, and Burning there up. He will be telekinesis back, and Burning's right on top of him. Don't think they have the damage output, and they don't, as he gets off one last Quill Spray. But I really just don't like the Venomancer mid. I mean, in the best situation possible, maybe that mid stays stable and you're able to push down an early tower and get a little extra damage done because of the strength of Plague Wards. But think about the times we saw this really just contribute nothing. Venomancer gets off to a good start, gets some early farm and levels, and then still feels like a support Venomancer regardless.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it too. Unless you can like absolutely dominate the OD, but it's rare that you're going to be able to dominate Mushi in a one-on-one matchup because they usually pick for him to succeed. Looking at the early CS, looks like they are on par though. Actually, Mushi with just one more CS. ROTK, he's doing okay in top, and it is really difficult to zone a Bristleback out. Burning already picked up a Magic 6, so he should be doing okay there.
Yep, if they want to bring down ROTK, they're going to have to send a lot more firepower than just a Rubik and a Luna. That's just not going to work. So he should be pretty damn safe to do as he pleases. Down at bottom, it's going to be all about Sylar and the Lone Druid. As of right now, being left completely uninhibited with his farm. He's still a little bit off pace, but not by much, sitting atop the hard farmers. And actually, when you look up at top, Burning is really not doing all that solid so far. He's only got 2 CS.
Yeah, I have no idea why he is that under farm, but yeah, 2 CS on Burning. I mean, Bristleback is okay, and he has decent base damage, but Luna with her aura, she's sitting at 72 damage right now. She should have a little bit more.
Mushi going to be able to spot an Illusion Rune and take that for free. Super sitting at 8 CS to the 8 CS of OD, so they're trading back and forth and not really
early boots first instead of bottle. I think I've seen him go bottle a lot. Oh, he did versus Nyx Assassin earlier, but I think he might need a little bit more regen because Super's going to be able to put a lot of pressure on him.
If there is one thing I do like about this matchup for him, I mean, obviously Lanham's continuing to bounce from lane to lane and deny creeps out of both mid and bottom, but Super should feel relatively safe from any kind of gank. So he's going to be able to get what he's going to be able to get here. I mean, it's not going to be, as we've seen before, a mid Venomancer that dies 3 times in the first 10 minutes because he just is a Venomancer and really can't avoid well-executed ganks. But again, it's going to be what they're able to translate that to. And we see that a lot whenever you see these kind of unorthodox mids and unorthodox solo lane heroes. It's not so much about whether they can get levels in gold. It's how does that translate to any kind of tangible gain as you move out of the early game. And as always, that's going to be a test, especially when you have a mid-Veno and ROTK on a Bristleback, which we've seen do well in some situations, but still has to be played in a very specific style to really make the most of his skill set.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah, still looks like Venomancer is not doing well in mid super. I mean, he has tried to max his poison sting, but I don't think it's gonna be enough. Oh, actually, super. He might actually go for a kill on Mushi here. Nope.
Nope.
He had a spray, or a gale rather. I think he could have done a lot of damage to Mushi there, especially considering he doesn't have a salve and does not have the early bottle. Lanham looks like he's gonna be here to save the day for Mushi.
I think that's probably why we didn't see Super go for that. Is Lanham's been basically just rotating back and forth from here to here and taking creeps from both lanes. And if Super decides to dive that a little too much, Lanham shows up, drops a Frost Blast on his face, and squishy as he happens to be at 500 HP, or 680 on a good day, or if he's full health, could have been problematic. We're going to see Lanham actually take this haste rune, so Super going to be robbed of a rune, and that's a nice little bonus for Mushi here in mid. And so far, no kills on the board. Been relatively quiet. ROTK, as you mentioned, they've had a lot of trouble zoning him out. His farm is nothing spectacular, sitting at just 6. But he is finding experience coming up on level 4. Big winner, though, is our Lone Druid. Sylar just going to town down here. 28 CS at 4.5 minutes in. Not too shabby.
Yeah, that's an easy matchup for him. Clockwork versus Lone Druid. I don't remember the last time I seen a Lone Druid lose that matchup, too.
Oh, ice, ice, ice. Spotted out. Walked right into it, drops the cogs. FY's in there with him. There's the Nova to follow it up. Soul Assumption's there. One more auto attack, and that'll be first blood. Super able to get that one on the board. And, how did Super get that? I'm confused.
Super?
Yeah, they registered as Super on mine. I read it off.
Yeah, I'm not really sure either. I think he maybe had a Venoware down there.
Yeah, must
have.
have.
He had a Venoware down in the middle of the hill.
Oh, okay. It must have expired or just been outside of my vision. Either way, Super takes it. We do see a return kill, though, on ROTK up at top. So making 1-1 as they do manage to track down the Bristleback. They are going to rotate a couple up. It's going to be Feared and Rear and FY, and they're going to look for some payback. And Lanham and MMY make appetizing targets. There's the smoke popped. FY uses Grave Chill. They're going to follow it up with the Nova. Telekinesis there. Manages to stun out for in rear. Here comes ROTK trying to cut off the path of retreat. Another kill going to go to VG. So 2-1 as they're continuing to bully this top lane around fairly effectively.
Yeah, they're going to start needing some rotation soon. They need early levels on Ice's Ice. He's only level 3.5 right now. He needs level 6 ASAP because he's just not getting anything accomplished in this bottom lane. Lone Druid already with Brown Boots, Hand of Midas. He is going to have his Hand of Midas completed. So 6 minutes in, and Sylar is just super farmed in. DK is going to have a really difficult time shutting him down, but Ice's Ice is not the hero to do so. They have to secure Burning's farm first and make sure that his farm is on par with Sylar's.
Yep, this feels about how we expected. Venomancer, level 6, has gotten his levels, has gotten a fair amount of farm, all things considered, but as soon as you see any kind of a rotation, once you have a level 6 on the other side of the river, OD there with a little help from a Frost Blast coming from Lanham, and that's another death taking place in mid lane. 2-2, we're all knotted up. And the rotations, I mean, right now, we're not really seeing a ton of them. We saw a little bit of movement from Vici. They managed to catch one in the river and then rotate up the top, but Sylar, again, just going to town. So I think this is probably a pretty nice situation for Vici. I don't think they're going to be too upset with the state of things at all, especially with that Midas up as early as it came out on Sylar.
Yeah, they are pretty happy with how things are going this game. Mushi is getting a good amount of farm, though, and he does have a regen rune, so Super not going to be able to harass him at all. I expect Mushi and Burning to both get Midases, and if that happens, Vici can just dominate, though, I think, as soon as the Radiance hits on Lone Druid, because neither of those heroes are really good at dealing with the Radiance on Bear.
And now we even see ROTK soaking a little bit of CS. He's up to 16. But again, back here in mid, this is your best case scenario, really. I mean, you're not going to see the Venomancer just start roaming out of this position usually until about 8 minutes. So maybe he'll start to go now. But there's a Midas done on Burning as anticipated. And Veno's actually picked up a Midas as well. So he's actually going to try to play a pure farming Venomancer, even though this mid lane has not gone quite as well as I think he would have hoped.
Yeah, and it looks like it's just going to be Midas farm game. I think that DK will have the late game with OD and Luna if it goes like late. But as far as the mid game goes, Vici does have the way stronger lineup because they can push just much better too with the Veno Wars, with the Business Familiars, with the Lone Druid. That is a lot to handle, especially when DK, yeah, again, they don't really have anything to stop these pushes. Their AoE is minimal.
DK grabs another Midas. This one will be on Mushi, so already we can see, as you said, Midas game ahoy. Already 2 out that are already visible, and we're about to see a couple of more. One on the Lone Druid is out as well, and one on the way to Mushi. And Vici looks like they're ready to push on bottom. Siler level 7 now. They got a DD on Super, and they're ready to make something happen here. They're going to force the glyph. There's 2 heroes behind. That's Lanham and Ice Ice Ice. Ice 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 is just level 4 right now, so not any hope of a hook. And don't know if they can hold this. The Bear's just a little too strong, and this is where I guess a Venomancer can pay off early. Getting behind with no real threat of counter initiation. They take the tower. Now they're going to continue to chase back. Lanham got caught with Grave Chill, but they will go ahead and decide to retreat in the meantime.
Yeah, they have no reason to stop right now, just because I think DK should have drafted anti-push, and Lich is okay at that, but when you can't secure Ice's level 6 and you don't get level 6 yourself, the pick is not that great, especially when you don't win your lane. But they weren't able to hinder Siler's farm at all. He is just going to town 2,000 gold on top of his Midas. We might see one of the fastest Brown Boots Midas Radiance timings.
Yeah, absolutely. Wish Nahaz were here. Nahaz did have to check out. He's got a little spawnling of his own, little baby girl, baby daughter, who apparently required his attention, and we certainly understand that. Siler up to 2,300 gold now with that Midas, and as you said, Brown Boots up as well. Fenrir, already level 5, looking to get towards level 6 as quickly as he possibly can. Things have settled out a bit. Let's take a first look at the gold graph, and I don't think there's any surprise there. Vici on the back is a very nice movement, even though the kill score is even. They lead by 2,000 gold so far, especially helped out by the death of that tier 1 tower at bottom.
Yep. Why he gets caught out.
Yep, gank attempt in mid. Got there in time to see him just basically explode into a million pieces. That's going to be another kill going the way of OD. That improves Mushi to 2-0. Do not want to see Mushi get off to a start like this, especially when he goes Midas first.
Yeah, he is going to be a force to reckon with, but still, in the Lone Druid versus OD battle, he will win out, or the Lone Druid will win out, at least in the early game, maybe once he gets to the sheep. So I think Vici can take full advantage of that. They already got 1 tower down. I don't know why they're not continuing it, probably just waiting for the right time. Lanham is level 6 now, Ice Ice is level 6, so they can hopefully start ganking other heroes like ROTK. Visage is also level 6 too, so he's doing pretty nicely in terms of experience.
OD level 10. Tops on the board, as you had mentioned. And ROTK, got to be careful. He's getting kind of whittled down here a little bit. And this is where you got to kind of make up your mind to just start using Bristleback. Like, you can't really extend the laning phase all that much without squandering the way the hero wants to function. He's gone with an Urn first and looking for any mech that could be on the way. Doesn't look like there's any really hope.
Smoke.
Yep, ROTK and company got to smoke up, move out MMY, the likely target. The tower in the meantime.
They don't want to kill him, though. It's just a level 6 Rubik, and they're committing 3 heroes in a smoke. They're looking for a bigger target. They want Mushi.
And they're going to go ahead and bypass, as you said.
They want Burning, actually.
Burning, moving into the jungle, has Eclipse up. He's level 9. We'll go ahead and go to work on this camp. Oh, they loop around, and they're still only going to get MMY. MMY is actually going to get away.
They're not even going to get him. Wow, what a TP.
And as soon as they saw the glyph, they had to know what was going on. In the meantime, Siler's hooked up with Super here in mid, and Rubik actually did a surprising amount of damage to this tower because he actually stole Plague Ward. Look how low this tower is now.
Wow. Yeah. This bear got hook shot by Isa. That's easy 300 gold.
Oh, that's
his sports staff, too.
Yep. They will go ahead and deny that top tower, so robbing them of the gold, but map control moving in the direction of DK so far. And right now, based on the first 12 minutes, Merlini, who do you think's had the better early game?
I would say that DK has actually escaped pretty much unscathed in the early game. Like, Mushi hasn't died at all. He actually has 2 kills. Luna only with 0 deaths too. And although Siler is really farmed, I think that Vici could have taken advantage of these really weak and no escape capabilities of these 2 heroes and punished them really hard for it. But they kind of just let them slip by, get their Midases, and I think once they get their next big items, Vici's going to be in trouble.
Fenrir spotting out MMY. There's the Eclipse, and he's going to be bursted down. FY next on the list as a Frost Blast comes in from Lanham. They're going to get at least 1 familiar, likely to get 2 here. So DK, as we just took a look at the gold graph, it's actually going to be spiking quite a bit in their favor now. Mushi finishes the 4 staff, and here in mid, they're going to try to push. Ice 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 is there. Here comes Mushi. And the very quick recall from Siler. Mech finally done on Super. That's a nice pickup for him following the Midas. But yeah, the gold lead was 2,000 in favor of Vici. Now turning almost completely upside down as DK has not only narrowed the margin but taken it into their favor. The experience is becoming an issue as well. They're out-leveling Vici pretty intensely for a 13-minute game.
Yeah, those two plays, first the smoke from Vici, they got greedy. They could have just killed the Rubik and then put the pressure on the T1 tower on top, but they wrapped it around, looked for burning, didn't find burning, tried to go for Rubik, and Rubik TP'd out. That was a good wasted minute from 3 heroes. And then on top of that, that very nice eclipse from behind from burning, that just secured the early game for him. DK and put them in a pretty good position. Yeah, they're down on towers, but are they really that far behind at this point? I don't think so.
As always, though, the question's the bear, and this bear is getting rather rotund in a hurry. Already has up his relic, and not going to be terribly far from his Radiant soon. This is going to be not quite another 300 gold. Don't think they actually have the damage to bring it down. Very close, though. And took a nice shot there with the Fade Bolt, but still up and alive. We'll go ahead and resummon it now. Up in the jungle, we see Burning all bailed out by Ice. Ice got all three! The Visage Familiar's trying to chase him down. Let's see if they will be able to catch him. Burning got away from that. In the meantime, the fight continues to rage. Mushi dropped the ulti. It's a 1-for-1 so far. The Familiar's trying to do what work they can. ROTK eats the Earn Charge, now chasing down Lanham in a fight that's way spread out. Not quite able to get Mushi. Should be able to get him as soon as he pops back out. And tried to force staff to the high ground. Not quite enough. Lanham now eating all the goose, slowed down, uses his wand charge. Will throw. Oh, wow, he's going to get ROTK with the Chain Frost. So a very bizarre exchange there. DK basically invested everything into saving Burning and engaging off of it. Burning did make it away, but in the end, it cost him 3.
Yeah, Mushi could have gotten out too. He was just a little bit too gung-ho there, and he could have just ran away with his Force Staff and then Astral to take the damage off, but he thought that he could probably kill Venomancer, but with Sylar there, it was a easy cleanup for him. But Vici didn't actually manage to translate that into a T1 tower too, so that's a bit problematic. But Goldgraph definitely spiking back up in Vici's favor.
MMY actually managed to get True Form, so we'll see if he's going to do the cute thing and just morph True Form and run around like that forever and ever and ever, which is always fun. To this day, one of my favorite casting memories of all time was seeing Kuroki from Na'Vi morph True Form, then steal rockets from a Tinker, and he was a True Form bear walking around shooting rockets at people. It was glorious. But Vici now ready to put some pressure here on the Tier 1 top, and going to be a free tower. So DK looked like they were ready to seize control of the mid game. Instead, look at that. We're right back where we started, my friend, right at 0.
Thanks.
Yes, we are. And yeah, this game is still very back and forth though. It just depends on how these engagements go, who gets a nice hookshot and cliffs engage on DK, or if Vici gets a jump with a lone druid root, or just a lot of stacks up on Bristle, maybe a few man venomous scale. These engagements could go any way, and it really comes down to execution.
And Lone Druid, there to lead the way on that tower. That Radiance is complete. Came out at about 16 minutes in. He's got another 1,000 gold to go with an MMY. Managed to steal Plague Wards. He's running around in his boring old Rubik form. You disappoint me, MMY. ROTK up there. And this is where a Bristle can become truly annoying. Just sticking his chest out in front and daring you to engage into him. They're going to pop the glyph and look to defend this. The bear forced to pull back. Sylar has a resummon if they want to commit to this. And he will go ahead and spin it. Looks like they're not done. ROTK, he's picked up the Ogre Club, and they will decide to go ahead and retreat. Burning and company, we're pushing down the Tier 1 bottom. There will be a reaction, and it's enough to keep the tower standing on both sides.
Yep, Sylar, that is a very, very fast Radiance timing from him. And let's check Burning's items. Burning still working on his next item after HOD, and Mushi, after that early death, he still has the Force Staff though, so he's not doing too poorly either.
Tell you what, Super is probably getting more right now out of a solo mid Venomancer than I've seen anyone get. He has the mech up. He already has a point booster up. He's probably going for a Scepter. Although, it wouldn't surprise me if he decided to go straight for a Blink Dagger here. I really would not mind that at all against this DK lineup.
And he doesn't really need a Blink Dagger though, is the thing. Like, all they need to do is just wait for DK to come to them, just wait for a hookshot in, because they have the far better siege with the Plague Lords and the Lone Druid Bears, so they don't have to initiate on DK. Usually the team who initiates, especially if you blink into the enemy team at tower, you might lose that fight, and it's just way too risky compared to, hey, you guys come to us where we can just bulk up our positioning, we have Plague Lords whacking on you, and they don't want to be under tower fire either.
Excellent points, my friend. And right now, both teams continuing to just kind of hang back. The net worth we can see is actually favoring Vici, with the Lone Druid opening up quite a gap on Burning, at least for this stage of the game. Only 18 minutes in, he's already 1,000 gold ahead of Burning. And Ice actually hooks into his own creeps. They're looking for a root. There's the telekinesis to slow things down, and that might be enough to save him. Mushi there with the Astral Imprison, going to work. There's the root. Force Staff gets it back under his own tower, though. So ROTK and Sylar, being menaces to the public good here in mid lane, come away empty-handed that time. Burning, in the meantime, though, is finding farm. He did go with the Helm of the Dominator build, so putting it to good use, taking this Ancient stack.
Spell for Rubik to steal those Plague Wards too, and it gives him a very good vision because they need to protect Burning while he's doing Roshan. He has that 400 HP. Looks like a Super is actually wrapping around and trying to kill him. They did steal a couple of the creeps with the Visage Familiars,
and they're able to zone him out there. Looks like the tier 2 bottom going to be where they want to fight, and they know Burning's in no shape to fight, at least for the moment. He's had to, he's about half health, so he could if he really wanted to. Mushi's actually hooking up with him. And they're not even going to try to contest this. They're going to just try to trade out the tower in mid. They don't have Glyph up, and they might just be able to get it with the damage they have. I'm a little surprised Vici isn't just pushing through and trying to force Mushi and Burning to at least spin a TP. Burning actually doesn't have a TP.
Can't. Not with Plague Wards. They can't push up a T3 against Plague Wards. It's way too strong. Combine that with Fade Bolt and Frost Blast, which will just immediately clear out waves. It would just be a huge waste of time for them.
Super picks up his Scepter and looking pretty good. I mean, his farm is actually third on the board. He's right behind Burning in terms of pure farm. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of solo mid Veno, but Super has really gotten his money's worth.
Yeah, he's only died once this game, and that's something that you don't see very often. And yeah, he is super stacked. Midas, Mech, and Ag Scepter 20 minutes. That is phenomenal farming for him. 117 CS, only 10 behind Sylar, who's been farming away on the bear all game. He has a Hyperstone on his bear too.
And both teams really continuing to play relatively passively. Only 13 kills in a 21-minute game right now. Mushi looks like he's going for his Scythe of Ice. Already has up his Ultimate Orb, Mystic Staff, short in the coming, while Burning just continues to farm away. Has a BKB up, so can start showing up the fights pretty reliably. Damage isn't too shabby either. Hitting for about 195 per shot, give or take. Not quite that high, but 175, I should say. But, all right, so 20 minutes in here. Who do you think has the advantage? I mean, graphs aside, the graphs really don't matter that much. The experience is in favor of DK, while the gold is in favor of VG. Who do you think has the edge moving ahead into the the central part of this mid-game?
Vici has the edge. They have the better mid-game lineup. DK has the better late game. So I'd say like 25 through 40. Vici with equal farm and DK, Vici will have the edge. And because they don't really need BKBs, they don't need BKB on the Lone Druid, they don't need BKB on the Bristleback either, whereas DK, they need BKB on OD and Luna. But those two heroes also scale much better with items than Lone Druid or Bristleback, so they'll win out like 40 plus if it's slightly even farm. But Vici should be able to get a slight gold lead going into that 40-minute mark.
Hyperstone now done on the bear. Now this is where things become especially terrifying. We're going to see OD take down the tower at bottom, but when this bear's hitting this hard and this fast against these towers, you just cannot afford to not be in position and not take fights anymore. You can sometimes wait it out, but you have a Radiance, it'll zone you out. You have to commit to fights very early on. Otherwise, a Lone Druid will simply whittle your towers down half health pretty much every time. And as soon as you spin Glyph, that means they can just completely commit. And if you're not ready to just go with 5 immediately, you will begin to lose all semblance of map control. We've seen it 100 times. But Mushi now with his Scythe of Ice done, that's going to be a nice way to deal with that.
Yep, and Roshan is going to be an important point of contention too. Vici already has a ward up there, and both teams can do it about equally fast. I say slight favor to Vici because they have the minus armor from Bristleback, but they also have the dire, or they don't have the dire advantage. So I say about each team has like equal Roshan potential. It really depends on who gets the next like tower. Looking at DK's side of the map, they don't have a T1 or T2 on bottom or mid, and that's really difficult for Roshan control.
Burning looking for his next big item, has 2,000 gold tucked away. And I'm actually a little surprised Vici isn't playing slightly more aggressive right now. They've kind of come up to the river a couple of times like they were ready to move and then backed off immediately. just continuing to try to farm up as best they can, at least for the moment. But I feel like that benefits Burning and company pretty effectively. I mean, Mushi has bought enough time to get his Scythe of Ice up, and Burning is going to be able to build damage very soon.
Yep. And Vici, they're very wary of Roshan too, familiar, scouting it out. And yeah, both teams just content to farm. And that's kind of what happens when you have 4 Midases on a team. But Venomancer may be the wild card here because Clock and Lich and Rubik are like equally not very useful. Yeah, they'll like force at people to save people here and there, but as far as damage and utility goes, not that much. Whereas Vici, they have Bristleback, Venomancer, and Lone Druid, especially if Super can get a sheep.
Speaking of Lone Druid, there's the Assault Cuirass done, and the Bristleback actually just finished his BKB as well. And here's the recipe being dropped off as we speak. So 2 very key items, both survivability-oriented, both push-oriented. The ability to just run in and take a fight definitely might be the word go for them. And I would expect to see a lot more aggression out of them. I feel like it's going to be a mistake if they continue to just hang around. Burning now up to 3,100 gold. Could go straight Butterfly pretty soon if he wants to.
Yep, and ROTK, they are dewarding. Do both sides actually have a gem right now? No. I guess... Yeah, looks like DK has picked one up, though. I currently see it in MNY's inventory. Yeah, FY has a gem, too. So both teams are vying for map control right now. Like, one smoke game can blow the game wide open. This game is just extremely close. 1,500 gold in favor of Vici, and there is only 1 tower difference. So pretty much dead even in gold if you exclude that tower.
And once again, Vici dances up to the lip of the river and falls back. Burning actually got really ballsy and pushed quite far up to right about here. And Siler, happy to just rotate over and continue to find his own farm. On the Lone Druid, we are going to see DK group up now and make their way near the Roche Pit. A little bit of a spread-out formation for Vici, and this could be something they could abuse. Looks like they don't want to commit to it, though. Instead, just want to try and secure it.
Yeah, and neither team really wants to venture into the pit just because that positioning is just going to be so poor. Vici will clump up for Cogs, which can be a huge nuisance around that fight. And yeah, DK doesn't want to group up either.
Well, Silas says to hell with it. It's like, no, I'll go. It's fine. I'm not too worried about the positioning. I got it. It's under control. And for good reason. Roche already down to 3/4 health. Okay, being spotted out by the familiars. They're just going to drop this. And DK kind of just caught napping. This feels like a deer in the headlights moment. And I think they're surprised this is going down the way it is. Druid takes the Aegis.
They're not even going to get a T2 out of it either. Burning was pushing left side, but they will use a glyph and Saddle will TP back. And easy Roshan for them. I thought that they would contest it. But I guess they're not feeling it. Maybe with the OD BKB they can do it.
I don't know what I mean. The thing is I understand OD needs a BKB, but they can't just continue to push this game this long and this late. There has to come a point where they respect the fact that especially on the Lone Druid, the Midas is going to make a big difference. And yes, I know Burning has one as well, but Luna doesn't match up all that well against a late game Lone Druid. If the Bear's able to get on Burning and the attack range on Luna is not that spectacular to begin with, I mean, Glaives do damage, but she still has to be in the heart of the fight, at least to an extent. And the Bear gets big enough, he can just blow her up and root her down. And we've seen that time and time again, even against much more mobile heroes like an Anti-Mage. So
he just needs a Manta style, though. Like BKB Manta and then Butterfly, too. He's actually not that far from those items. He can pick up a Manta right now if he wanted to. And then once he gets that, if he gets ready to split out, and he should be okay. They don't have that great AoE damage, like Bristleback maybe with his cool spray, but that takes quite a bit of time to ramp up.
Looks like they're finally going to be able to take this tier 2 on top, and they will. Burning will go ahead and push through, and Vici, with a deer in the headlights moment of their own, they're going to go ahead and take this Ancient stack. They need to send someone back to defend their tier 3, though, as it's taken a lot of free damage, and finally, they're going to send back Silent.
Yeah, well, gold graph should still be relatively even, 2,000 gold, and yeah, Vici still has 1 tower up. Burning, is he going to get caught out by the Bear here?
Bear running him down. And yeah, Burning starting to take some Radiance damage and spinning the Lucent Beam. There's the Eclipse trying to bait Siler and the Bear into it. And yeah, they do manage to get it. So baited
what
that
was Siler
out.
doing there? Yeah.
Hoping for a root. Gold. Yeah, hoping for a root, I guess.
I mean, even if you root, you can just TP out. Or I don't know if he's thinking up 1,500 HP with 18 armor. Yeah, I think he'd be okay even if he got rooted.
Siler manages to hang on to his Aegis at the very least. ROTK helping to cut things off. There's the butterfly done all at once coming out from burning. And this is going to be an interesting late game matchup. Neither team really seems all that anxious to try and get an advantage, at least for the moment.
Vici should be trying to get an advantage, though, because Lone Druid, I mean, he does fall off. Yeah, sure, he can get 12 slots, but, I mean, compared to OD, who can just one-shot your team with an ultimate after he gets really farmed, that's much, much more scary than a farm bear.
I might see it put to the test as Vici finally. Looks like they're ready to 5-man, taking control of the dire side jungle. Lone Druid and his best buddy going to work on this tier 2. Last remaining outer tier tower for DK. Let's see if they want to contest it. Doesn't look like they will. So the last vestiges of map control crumble to a shambles. And Vici now in control of their destiny. They've got 3 minutes on this Aegis remaining. ROTK trying to finish his Sange in the meantime, just trying to tank up even more. Now that's the question, is how effectively is Vici going to be able to break DK? Having the Lone Druid there is nice. Bristleback again, ready to just tank with the face. But for the most part, DK, it's always hard to engage in a Chain Frost, to engage into Sanity's Eclipse, engage to a Rubik, etc., especially with a Clockwork there just in case.
Yep. And I think DK they have the right idea that they can just farm it up. And Vici, I mean, they have the Aegis right now, but they're not really making a move to the T3. And by the time the next one comes around, DK is going to have even more items, probably a Manta style on Luna, as well as, or I mean, OD already has a BKB. So I mean, I think that DK is already, if next War Ocean were to spawn right now, I think DK could contest it. And with it spawning in maybe like 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes, they should be able to contest it too. So. DK's in a pretty good position for the late game. DK's in a pretty good position for the late game. Vici does have the gold lead right now, but it doesn't translate that well just because Venomancer has huge items on him.
Yep. They're going to need a lot out of Super. As you mentioned, he's not exactly a guy who's going to be doing a lot of right-click down the stretch. He's hitting for about 126 right now, which is pretty solid by Venomancer standards. Very tanky, sitting at 1,800 HP. And they're just continuing to look for some kind of an opening. Cogs go down from DK to protect the bottom tier 3. And let's see, what did MMY get there? Got Plague Wards. That's troublesome. Yep, they're going to send the bear up. And he's taking a lot of damage already. And Bristle shows his face. Bear's going to move back up. Siler's there, going to be Ashel in prison. There's a glyph. Forstaff gets Mushi to safety. And here they come back out. They're going to mech through it. Siler looking for a target. The bear's actually going to be picked up. Will they get the resummon? Nope, they managed to get the kill. There's a Chain Frost and a lot of damage being done because of it. Aegis is popped off. ROTK moves back in, shows off the BKB, but there's the Eclipse. Siler raises up right into it. And ROTK doing what he can, but with the Sanity's Eclipse there, and and the Courier. That's what you call a complete genocide of the Radiant side. Not only killing off every bit of the team, but getting the Courier as well. And that's exactly everything we were worried about, my friend. Pushing into that tier 3 wasn't that well executed, and DK walks away with a gigantic win that's going to flip this game completely around.
Yeah, they just need a Caesar Tower, and they didn't actually need to charge up to T3. They need to wait for DK to come out to them because they have the Siege. They have the Vintage Bird, the Lone Druid, Bear, and the Venom Wards. That is far more than enough to force DK to come back to them. But also, DK was really, really good about focusing Siler down because once he comes out of Aegis, he doesn't actually have his... he doesn't actually have True Form up, and they were really keen on focusing after that, so Aegis kind of wasted.
And Burning, now beginning to hit his stride. He's level 21. And just finished a Satanic as well. How in the hell are they going to kill him? His damage is... And that's the thing, he hasn't even really built damage. He'll be able to sell his Midas here shortly and go with a straight-up 100% damage item, and I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, I don't really know what they're going to do either. And DK definitely has map control after that, and they can take out Roshan. Gold graph just completely sunk in DK's favor, 3,000. And yeah, Vici, I think they waited a little bit too long for the time to strike, though. I think as soon as they get the Radiance on Siler and before the BKBs come out on DK, that's the time to hit. But they just waited a little bit too long.
4,200 gold still sitting in the bank of Mushi, too. So his next item choice, very likely to put him over the edge. They're trying to defend the tier 2. They got to be careful, though. That's a lot of personnel from DK hanging around. And we're actually going to hear a hook as Ice manages the call against Super, and there's the... Oh, he actually stole Poison Nova. BK being through it, though. Super still in position to defend with ROTK, but they're just being overwhelmed as we see the tower drop. Only one outer tier tower remains, and it's now DK's turn to completely have control of the map.
Yep, they can just wait for Roshan now. It's almost the 8-minute mark has come about.
Backing up, Roshan back up very shortly. And we'll see what kind of a respawn timer they'll be facing with it. Mushi's likely to be standing there just as he pops back up. Not quite. But let's see how long we got. 54 seconds. So a very, very short respawn timer this time around. And double damage actually picked up by Mushi as well. Rich Kid Richer. And Vici, I agree with you. They had a chance. There was a very solid timing when the Lone Druid was very far ahead. We could see that's no longer the case. He's actually surpassed by both Mushi and Burning at this point. But aside from that, what else could Vici have done differently to avoid the precarious situation in which they find themselves?
I think just push a lot earlier. They just simply waited too long, and they should know that their heroes don't scale as well as someone like Odie and someone like Luna, especially when both of them got Midases. And I don't think the Midas pickup on Vici, it was bad by any means, but at the same time, it just doesn't translate that well come mid game. Yeah, Venomous has all these items, but what is a Scepter going to do versus BKB? What is a BKB on Venomous going to do? Is he going to be able to right click any of these guys in a right click war? Absolutely not.
Roshan spotted out, and DK hovering about, looking for their opportunity. Looks like they're just going to go on in. Yep, popping out and go to work. Mushi hitting quite hard. He's picked up a Mystic Staff to go with his already existent Scythe of Ice. So we'll see what he wants to snag out here. A Shiva's, I suppose, an option. And that even more AoE would tank him up as well. It's actually going to be OD that picks up that Aegis and trying to bring down the familiars as it is. His intelligence is quite high, 168, so reaching a point where a few minutes ago, yep, there it is, Shiva's done. So even higher now. But, yeah, reaching that point you were talking about. He's going to be able to one-shot a whole lot of folks on the side of EG.
Yeah, DK actually played really smartly, too. They didn't defend any of the T2s. They just traded and split push and farmed. So even though Vici had a huge tower lead early, DK at least made something out of it. They don't do what a lot of teams do, which is, hey, let's just, like, for example, if they're defending this tower up here, they just sit behind here, wait for the tower to fall, and then retreat, which you're getting absolutely nothing out of it. You're not getting any farm, you're not defending towers, you're not getting any kills, and that's exactly what they should not have done. But DK very smart. They, like, put one or two just to make sure that Vici is all there and to slow down the push. Mushi.
Yep, BKB's up on both sides. Mushi going to work, has his ulti available. When he wants to spend it, spins the Shivas right now and might end up dropping. Will likely drop the ult if he gets close. There's a Force Staff to get him back to safety as the rest of DK forced to retreat. Ice drop the cogs. Burning's there, though. Still has Eclipse, not anymore. Pops it, has a Satanic if he wants it. There goes the Poison Nova. MMY managed to get it again. He's going to move in. And nope, never mind. He got Plague Wards. They do manage to clean the bear up, and only losing Rubik in exchange for Veno. There's a good freezing field, though, and the Aegis popped off. Burning trying to heal through it, and does manage to do so through the help of the Satanic. Mushi back up. That's going to be, yep, managing to get a double kill there using the Sanity's Eclipse. And that's a triple kill and a full 5-man wipe. Cost him an Aegis, but Aegis and a Lich, I guess, technically, but certainly well worthwhile for DK. VG took their stab, but that's probably the last real fight they had a chance to win. Yeah, I agree with you there. And nice clutch defensive Astral on Burning there at the end to save him and prevent him from having to use a buyback. 6,500 gold on Luna right now, 5,500 gold on OD. And, I mean, if the game's not over now, it will certainly be over with the next Roshan. There's going to be a hook in. Super caught out. Scythe of Ice used as well. And Super trying to mech through it. Not going to be so fortunate. And he's down for 74 seconds now. Going to be 26, give or take, until the Druid's up. And they're going to go ahead and use the glyph. But yeah, I think this is pretty much the swan song for Vici. And here we go, trying to catch someone else out. That's going to be Fenrir. He's going to be cogged out and blown up with just about 1 or 2 auto attacks. Now the Force Staff from MMY looking for a target. He's going to go Scepter away from the damage. ROTK dancing back and forth, but really just doesn't matter all that much. The tier 3's down goes the racks as well. And they'll take another set of free racks now. And Druid back up, but still has 20 seconds until he can summon his bear. So not a whole lot he can do even under the best of circumstances. However, DK going to play it safe, going to go ahead and pull back.
Yeah, there's no reason for them to take unnecessary risk right now. They can simply just wait it out for 8 minutes if they really want to. Wait for next Roshan. They still aren't 6 slot on all their heroes. OD can pick up another item instead of his TP scroll, like a refresher, let's say. Luna can still pick up 2 items if she sells her Midas. So they're very well equipped to deal with this game if it goes even longer. And yeah, Lone Druid, as farmed as he is, he has an MKB, but it just simply isn't enough. ROTK, he has a Heaven's Halberd, but you can't Heaven's Halberd both of those heroes.
And the pipe got on Lanham now will help mitigate a lot of the damage. The best burst of damage we saw come out of VG there was the freezing field that helped clean up the Aegis off of Mushi and almost bring down Burning as well. So being able to not worry about that and not having to worry about the magic damage output of a Visage, etc., as well as hell, a Radiant Spare. Certainly a step in the right direction. BK doubling up Vici in terms of kills, and I'm sure the gold graph going to tell about the same story we'd expect. Yeah, they're getting close to 20,000 gold in terms of advantage and in excess of 25,000 experience. So VG going to try to hold on, but it's going to take a minor miracle or a hell of a lot of mistakes for DK to open the door for him.
Yep, Vici trying to get back in this game with the smoke though, but they can't really kill anyone before they BKB. They don't have any instant disables, which is why Venom needs a Hex.
Yep, Burning pops the BKB, and now we're going to see Ice 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 dropping the cogs. Burning did go ahead and use the Satanic, and now just going to work. Super got off his ulti. Burning might be melted down here. He is going to be Astral. Here comes the Chain Frost. That's going to get a couple of good bounces off. Burning back out, and the ulti to help force this fight to reach a close, and the refresher used for the first and last time in the game. DK closes the door on game 1 and puts themselves one more win away from advancing to our finals of the Eastern Division playoffs. That makes 3 in a row they've won so far tonight after dropping that initial game to Tongfu. They're going to look to make it 4, and I think we're both kind of in agreement there. Vici, I felt like, actually outplayed DK fairly well for the first 20 minutes. They just did not walk through the open door, and DK very happy to shut it on them as the game got later and later.
Yep, still a very nice effort from them, though. I think their draft needs a little bit of work if they want to go to a late game like that. So either they need to play according to what their picks dictate or draft according to how they want to play. But overall, very good effort from Vici. Vici did take down DK 2-1 just a few days ago. So I expect this game to go to 3.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It wouldn't surprise me one little bit. 10-23, the final kill score, 40-40. The time that it took. Standout performance from Mushi, who finished 10-1 with a nice fat inventory, side of Ice, BKB, his Shivas, as well as the refresher. Not too bad out of Lanham's Lich either. He was just kind of everywhere he needed to be. Burning, finishing with what I would say is a pretty desirable score for a carry, 4-0-14. Anytime you can keep your carry from dying in a 40-minute game, doesn't matter if he just has 4 kills. I guarantee you those 4K blade and probably were clutch as hell. Not a bad game out of MMY either on Remix. So Vici, really, they got what they needed early on, just unable to capitalize on the opportunities they had earned for themselves. Game 2 coming up in just a moment, guys. I'm your host here in AC Chambers. The voice you're hearing on the other end of the line, the one who's really knowledgeable and kind of awesome. His name happens to be Ben Merlini. You can follow us both on Twitter. I'm at AC. He's at Merlini DotA. It's been a long day, and this could be our final game of the evening coming up next. And I'm sure there are those who have been with us all day long. I want to thank you guys for that. But whether or not this is the first time you've tuned in and saw me ever, or if you've been here all day and all throughout the D2L, it's been a hell of a fun ride. We've only got a couple of days of action left and only one more game, potentially one more game, until we move on to the final stage of both the East and the West. So you need to catch up and figure out what happened, catch the VODs, what have you. Head to d2l.gg. You can find all the info you need there. And check out our nice little playoff page, I guess you would call it. It's pretty awesome. Anyway, game 2. DK looking to make it 4 wins in a row, propel themselves into a showdown with Invictus Gaming and our best of 5 grand finals for our playoffs to determine which of those 2 teams will be advancing to our grand finals in Vegas. But Vici might have something to say about it, I would imagine. would. And again, wouldn't surprise either of us to see this go the distance. We'll find out in just a moment. Stick with us around the HyperX D2L. We'll be right back.